Let's get ready to story!
The co-owner of Garrity's Supermarkets, Fire and Ice Restaurant and Save-A-Lot Food Stores, please welcome. And his gang, his whole gang's here, right? Joe Fasula!
I knew I'd be last. I knew it. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you guys a story that started about 118 years ago. In 1895, it started with a guy named William Garrity. And it started right here in West Side, that's right. And William Garrity opened a little meat market called Garrity's. And he built that business. He built a really good following in the meat business. And he had 3 sons that helped him out, but only one son that wanted it. Only one son that carried the business on, and that was Joe Garrity. So Joe Garrity ran the business after his father passed away, and eventually hired this kid from Hyde Park in West Side, and his name was Neil Fasula. Neil Fasula is my dad, and he had Neil just clean up. You know, he did like the cleanup around, and if anybody knows anything about butcher shops, one of the most important things you clean up is sawdust. Anybody ever watch Rocky? You see Rocky beating up the sides of beef? Well, they made a big mess when you were breaking them down, so there'd be a lot of sawdust. So that's how my dad started. Then eventually my dad became a delivery boy, and he started delivering meat to my grandparents, and that's actually how he met my mother. The first couple times I told this story, when people would ask me the history of Garrity's, I'd always say, well, you know, I used to deliver meat to my mom, and then I thought, you know, I can't tell the story like that. So, anyway, he was a delivery boy. So he eventually became a butcher, and my dad's father died when he was young. So, you know, he didn't have a father, and Joe Garrity never had any kids, so they had a really special relationship. They became very close over the years. And my dad went to West Scranton High School, and then he went to the University of Scranton. And after he graduated from the U with an accounting degree, he went to work in New York City for an accounting firm. The very first year he was there, Joe Garrity's business burnt down. And Joe Garrity was getting older. Joe was in his 60s at the time, and didn't really want to start over. But my dad came back and convinced him to, and the two of them threw in $2,000 and became partners. And because the name Garrity's was so old in the meat business at the time, it just made sense to keep the name Garrity's. And it's funny because, you know, everybody knew my dad as Neil Garrity. Even to this day, a lot of people think that was his name. And I get called Joe Garrity. And one of my favorite stories was I started real young. I mean, I'd go to work with my dad when I was 6 and you know, do anything he could get me to do. I'd bag or I'd get cards. But when I was 18, I was so excited. Oh my God, I'm 18, I could work in the deli. And, you know, and to this day, it's my favorite department. I love working in the deli. So I'm waiting on this lady, my first week, and I sliced her lunch meat the wrong way. I give it to her, and you know, she yells at me, and she said, you know, I know Neil Garrity real well, and he's a real good friend of mine, and I'm going to tell him that you need more training or you're not going to last in this business. So, I don't know. It's been a long time since then, so I don't know if she was right or wrong, I don't know. But anyway, so Joe Garrity and my dad became close. They became partners, and eventually Joe Garrity, a few years later, after becoming partners, he sold his half of the business to my dad, and it's been in our family ever since. Now, my dad was a hard worker, and my dad built that little meat market into a supermarket, and then into 4 supermarkets. And my dad was really ambitious, and he had the opportunity in 1996 to buy 5 more stores. So this is going to take us from 4 stores to 9 stores. It was a big decision, and he took that. He took that and ran with it, and he opened the first store, and after he opened the first store, he passed away. So here's my mom, right? My mom, what's she gonna do? She was a teacher, you know? But the good thing was, as a teacher, she was able to work in the summers, she was able to work on the weekends, she was able to work on the holidays, so she knew the nuts and bolts of the business. And actually, a lot of their Friday night dates were spent in the butcher shop when they were dating. And my mother would go and hang out while my dad was finishing cleaning up at the end of the night. One night, this is her favorite story, one night she was there waiting at the counter. My dad was in the back cleaning up, and this lady walks in, and the lady says, excuse me, can I get tree ties? And my mom's like, well, I don't know, I'll go ask Neil. And she's thinking, well, what is tree ties? This is a butcher shop. What the hell could this lady want? So my mom goes back and says, hey, there's a lady out here that wants tree ties. My dad says, no problem, tell her I'll be right out. So she's like, okay. A couple of minutes later, my dad walks out with a nice, neat wrap package, gives it to lady. Lady pays him, walks out, and she don't throw him. My mom's like, what are tree ties? He's like, Joyce, you're in West Side. It's 3 thighs. Right, Mom? So anyway, getting back to the bigger story. My mom is sitting there, and she's got a big decision here. She had 500 employees, 500 families that counted on her. And she had to make a decision, a hard decision. We had a lot of offers to sell the business. A lot of people, came out of the woodwork. The vultures were there. And I was actually a senior at the University of Scranton. I'd always planned on coming into the family business. And she felt because of the commitment that I had made to the business, and she felt because of my dad, and because of those 500 people, soon to be 900 people that were going to be counting on her, she did it. She went forward with it. And, she did a great job. I was hoping I wouldn't do this, and when she said she was coming, shit, I'm screwed. But anyway, and then the last piece of the story here is just kind of bringing us up to date. A couple of years ago, we implemented our marketing that we centered all around Mom. And the story of that was that my wife, I met her 13 years ago, and she said, God, I never really thought about the fact that you have a woman owner. This is amazing. You got to tell people this. You got to really play that up, because who makes all the buying decisions, right? It's the women, right? I mean, when you see the guy in the supermarket, he's got a list, and he's like scared he's going to get the wrong cucumber and get home and get screamed at, right? Any of those guys here? Come on, show your hands. That's right, yeah, right? So I went to my mom. My mom's a low-key person. I mean, the only thing my mom's afraid of is a nun. She's a Catholic school graduate, But even though she wasn't afraid of the publicity and everything, she just likes to be under the radar. So about 7 years ago, we brought in a professional marketing consultant. We said, hey, what can we do better? And he went and he studied the demographics, and we paid him a lot of money, and he looked at the competition, and we paid him a lot of money, and he came back and he said, your mother's a woman, and you should be telling people this. So with that, the whole mom marketing was born, and it's done pretty good for us. We're still hanging around, and the main reason I tell you this is so nobody thinks that she's on an ego trip, and especially when you see her picture somewhere with like bunny ears for Easter or a witch's hat, I usually put those there. And a lot of people ask us if we're ever going to do a gas program like a lot of our competitors, and I don't think we're going to, but I already have the slogan figured out. It's Mom's Got Gas. So, anyway, I'll give my mom a lot of credit. She's tough, except for those nuns, but we're still here. Not too bad for a bunch of West Siders, So, thank you.